everyone, it's Jen from You So Much, and it's time we had a talk. The talk about headlines. So here's the thing with headlines. I'm sure that you have heard a million times how important headlines are. I know I've talked about it. I know a lot of different copywriting blogs and posts and videos talk about how important headlines are. And you probably heard the stats where they talk about how only 1 in 5 people read past the headline. And so I'm sure that's caught your attention. But let's take it one step further and really think about this here. As I said it before on this channel, the only goal of the headline is to get them to read the very next line. So, but if you think about that, if you really think about that, how important is that? I mean, here you have a whole entire page full of words, and if you can't get them to read past the headline, what are all those words for, right? So the most important sentence on the entire page is the headline. Because if they don't read past that headline, they're not going to read any of the rest. So they won't end up subscribing to your email or buying your product or whatever it is that you might have on that page. And so whatever it is, even if you're just trying to get them to read your article and learn more about you, they're not going to do it if they don't read past the headline, right? So the headline is kind of like that guy that you call when you're moving and you know he can lift all the heavy stuff. He does all the heavy lifting. That's exactly what the headline does. Because if you watch my past headline video, you know that it has to get their attention. It has to drive curiosity. It has to appeal and resonate with your ideal target reader. It has to appeal to their fantasies. It has to tease them with a benefit, with the fantasy of the person that they want to become. It has to be clear, etc., etc., etc. There's so many things that one headline has to do. If you really want to make sure that they read past the headline, then you really want it to do as many of those things as possible. If you don't want your friend to drop that heavy desk that you inherited from your great-great-grandmother, you're not going to ask him to hold it, are you? So you have to make sure he's strong enough to hold it, or you're going to find another person or another way to get that antique desk over to your new home. So if you want them to read past the headline, you have to make sure it's good enough. And so I always recommend spending more time on the headline than anything else. If you spend 80% of your time on the headline, then you're allocating the correct amount of time for the results that you're going to get, right? So don't just write down 2, 3, 4, 5 different versions. Make sure that you're writing out 10, 20, 30. I've talked to other copywriters who literally write out 50 headlines every time they have an important sales page or post because they want to make sure it's right. They want to nail it. They want to make sure it's doing all the heavy lifting so that it gets that person to keep reading. Now, if you're really struggling with this, if you're wondering what the heck should I put in my headline, think of the headline as sort of the big idea, the big promise. It's like the setup for the payoff that you're going to give them at the end of the page, right? So you're setting them up and you're going to give them something. And so that leads me to remind you, don't put some teaser headline in there that is going to grab someone's attention and they're going to keep reading, but then it doesn't really deliver on what the headline is offering. You got to set it up properly and you got to make sure you're delivering on what you're talking about. So it really should reflect and match what you're offering and promising to give them in the headline. And so by big idea, what I'm talking about there is not only what it's about, but what's the biggest idea? What's the biggest benefit for the reader that they're going to get out of reading this article or this sales page or this website page, right? What's the fantasy that you're delivering on? What's the biggest thing you can think of that's most important to tell them about this page, and that they're going to, by the time they're done reading the page, they're going to be like, oh, cool, that's what it's about, right? You don't want them to read it and go, that was a waste of my time, because are they going to go back and read more of your stuff? Probably not. They're probably not going to read another page of yours. They're probably not going to buy that product of yours. So make sure that you are doing those things you're supposed to do. And I have read so many sales pages where the headline catches their attention and then it just doesn't go from anywhere from there. Do you know why? Because it doesn't resonate with them. They don't care about it. It might catch their attention, but it's not talking about something that they really care about, that they personally want to know. If you tell the beginning of a story, that's awesome, but that's not enough. That's not enough because they only care about what's in it for them. What's in it for them is what you're going to deliver on at the very end. If you have any questions about this, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below. And as always, don't forget to write down your own fantasies because words make it real.